Today, let's talk about a word that carries the weight of continents and centuries, the duende. Now, we think we know what it means, but its real story? Well, that's a whole other thing. It's a haunting journey from a mischievous little house ghost to a powerful guardian of the wild.
When you hear that word, duende, what pops into your head? Maybe you're thinking of a goblin, right? Or some kind of mischievous gnome. Or maybe you think of that fiery, untranslatable spirit of flamenco music. And you know what? You wouldn't be wrong. But that's just the last chapter of a very, very long book. You see, the real story of the duende isn't just about what it is, but what it became. It's a tale of how this simple Spanish spirit was completely transformed by the mountains, the jungles, and the minds of a whole new world. All right, let's get into this. To really understand this journey, we have to go way back. We're starting in medieval Spain, where the duende was born. And it wasn't a monster. It was the original owner of the house. And this right here is the key. The word itself is just a mashup of duende de casa. So this wasn't some kind of intruder. To the medieval mind, the duende was the true master of the house. Humans? Oh, we were just the tenants. The spirit claimed ownership over the very spaces people lived in. And you can actually watch this idea get more and more official over time. It all started as a folktale, just oral tradition back in the 15th century. Then, boom, 1570, it gets its first entry in a dictionary. And by 1732, the Royal Spanish Academy had cemented its definition, a spirit that lives in houses, causing all sorts of noise and mess. So what did this owner actually do? Well, it lived in all the in-between spaces, chimneys, attics, the gaps in the walls. It wasn't really evil, more playful but annoying. Lost your keys? Hear a strange creak in the middle of the night? That was the duende. It was a way to give a name and a face to all the unexplainable little chaotic moments of life at home.
But here's the thing. Spain's mischievous little spirit wasn't an only child. Turns out, it was part of a much bigger family of what people sometimes called the little people, and they were all over Europe.
And what's so fascinating is how each culture came up with a similar spirit, but tailored it perfectly to their own world. So the Spanish duende was a noisy housemate. But up in Scotland, you had the brownie, a humble little guy who'd help out on the farm for just a bowl of milk. The German kobold could either guard your house or totally sabotage your mine. And of course, the Irish leprechaun was a loner, totally obsessed with his gold. They're all from the same family tree, but each one is distinctly local.
Okay, now this is where the story takes a massive turn. The whole idea of the duende, born in the houses of Spain, gets packed onto ships and sails for the Americas. And that journey is going to change it forever. So when the Spanish colonizers showed up, they found a land that was just teeming with indigenous spirits, powerful guardians of rivers, mountains, animals, really complex beings. And the colonizers, well, they either couldn't or just wouldn't try to understand them. So they reached for a word they already knew, duende. It just became this convenient kind of dismissive label for any small, tricky, non-Christian spirit they ran into. It was a way of taming the unknown by just giving it a familiar name. And that one act, just relabeling everything, caused this huge shift. All of a sudden, the duende had a change of address. See, back in Europe, it was the owner of the house. It was a domestic thing. But in the Americas, that whole concept got dropped into a world where the sacred wasn't contained by four walls. It was in the land itself. The duende moved out of the attic and into the wild. So let's jump across the ocean and see what happened. Because here, the duende wasn't just renamed. It soaked up the powers and the responsibilities of the spirits it was used to describe. It became a true guardian of the ecosystem. Our first stop is in the Andes Mountains of Peru and Bolivia. I want you to meet the Muki. His name actually comes from a Quechua word for moisture, or even for asphyxiation, a direct reference to the dangers inside the mines he calls home. Now, the Muki isn't just some simple trickster. He's a hardcore negotiator. He's basically the living spirit of the mine itself. If you show him respect, maybe leave some offerings, he might just lead you to a rich vein of silver. But if you get greedy, if you take more than your share, he'll cause a collapse or lead you down a tunnel to your death. He is the original landlord, but his property is the entire mountain.
All right, from the mines, let's travel deep into the Amazon rainforest to find a very different kind of guardian, the Chulachaki, which means uneven feet.
The Chillichaki is the perfect symbol of the jungle. Wild, deceptive. His mismatched feet leave this totally confusing trail. He can mimic the voice of someone you love to lure you off the path, but he isn't just malicious for fun. He has an ecological purpose. He targets poachers and anyone who would harm the rainforest, leading them deeper and deeper into the jungle until they're lost forever. He is a protector of the animals.
And for our last stop, let's head to the Yucatan Peninsula, where we meet the Aluxes. These are spirits tied directly to the Mayan world of agriculture. And the relationship with the Aluxes, it is purely a business contract. A Mayan farmer will have a shaman create an Alux out of clay, and its job is to protect his cornfield. In return, the farmer has to provide offerings, usually a sacred corn drink. If the farmer keeps up his end of the bargain, his crops are totally safe. But if he forgets, the Aluxes turn hostile. They'll send sickness, what they call bad air, and ruin the harvest. So, after this whole 500-year journey, what are we left with? Well, we have two completely different beings that somehow share the exact same name. So let's put them side by side and really look at them. And the contrast is just stark. The European duende is the owner of a house. Its world is completely domestic, and its relationship with people is familiar, almost like having a weird metaphysical pet. The American duende, on the other hand, is the owner of the land. Its habitat is the untamed wild, and its relationship is territorial and all business. Think about it. One cares if the kitchen is clean, the other cares if the mountain is respected.
And that gets us to the most crucial point. The Latin American duende is so much more than just a creature from folklore. It's a powerful cultural tool. It's the symbolic voice of the ecosystem. In a world that so often sees nature as just a dead resource to be used up, the duende insists that the land is alive, that it has a will, and that it absolutely demands our respect.
This whole transformation perfectly captures this one vital lesson. We started with the owner of the house, and we ended up with a concept that challenges our entire idea of ownership. The duende evolved to remind us that we are just tenants on a land that has its own powerful ancient masters. And all of that leaves us with one final thought. Whether you call them duendes or genius loci or just a sense of place, every culture has a way of expressing this idea. So think about it. What are the invisible guardians of your world? What does the land ask of you?